Barack Obama has arrived in Berlin to meet who he called his, quote, closest international partner, Angela Merkel. It's part of the outgoing president's farewell tour of Europe, just weeks before he hands the keys to the White House to Donald Trump. RT's Peter Oliver has more now on the future of US relations with the EU.
This was set to be something of a victory lap around Europe for Barack Obama. However, the results of last week's US election have changed the tone somewhat. He was in Greece on Wednesday and he seemed to have to be really trying to reassure people that not too much would change. Well, what that reassurance didn't help was the riots that he was greeted with. Some really unsavoury scenes on the streets of Athens, people shouting "Yankee, go home" at the US president, Molotov cocktails thrown, and riot police attacked with bats. Well, a very different reception for Barack Obama here in Berlin. Germany is, of course, one of the US's closest allies, and in Angela Merkel, the German Chancellor, has been one of the closest partners of the US president. Certainly over the 8 years that Mr. Obama's been in the White House, Angela Merkel has been a rock of stability. Barack Obama, throughout his time in the White House, has been full of praise for Chancellor Merkel.
My close friend and partner, Chancellor Angela Merkel, my closest international partner these past 8 years. Chancellor Merkel is a great friend and a great ally.
Well, Barack Obama also talked about Angela Merkel being the one to pick up the baton of global liberal leadership. Of course, Angela Merkel has an all-important election to fight in 2017, and that type of internationalism would not be too popular with a large selection of the electorate here. What she has to look forward to is what comes next. And dealing with Donald Trump will most likely be very different to how she's dealt with Barack Obama. But one thing that we have seen, and one thing that probably brought about the election of Donald Trump, is a failure of some of that liberal leadership to convince voters. And we are seeing signs of that as well here in Germany. Angela Merkel's popularity hit a 5-year low earlier on in 2016. And we've also seen anti-establishment political parties on the rise. They've made gains in local elections and have their eyes firmly set on next year's general election. Now, speaking to some people here on the streets of Berlin, many aren't too impressed by the legacy that Barack Obama will leave, and also not too keen on looking forward to Angela Merkel picking up that baton.
Ja, das wäre ein Desaster für uns.
This will be a disaster for us. Just look around what she has done here. She destroyed our relations with Russia. She let in over 1.5 million people against our existing laws. She broke the law, and not just a bit. She let over 1 million in without asking the population.
There are too many refugees. Germany can't take any more. Therefore, something has to change. She should go.
It is time for Merkel to be voted out. People are very unhappy. They're unhappy with various policies, family policies, refugee policies, unemployment. People are not being listened to. They live in a bubble. They have no connection to the people. This situation has nothing to do with democracy. I hope that in 2017 she will be voted out.
Barack Obama's last foreign tour comes as Donald Trump's expected victory threatens to, fuel popular electoral revolts across Russia. I should say the unexpected victory, excuse me. We have spoken to several experts here on the channel. They believe that Europe's establishment now needs to watch its back.
I believe that Donald Trump will do just as well to take on board someone like Nigel Farage to help him steer his way through the European economy and have Britain leave the European Union but still continue to trade. Now, all the other EU leaders are coming on board, the likes of Geert Wilders, Marine Le Pen. They have something to actually go for.
Real people say, actually, you know what, I'm worried about immigration. You know what, I'm worried about the impact on the economy of what's going on in my country. Is not racist, it's not xenophobic. And the voters of outside the Washington Beltway that you referred to, you know, they're sick to death of being talked down to. And the same thing happens here in Britain. People who live outside Westminster, who are not part of this cosy liberal elite, saying, I am sick and nobody listening to me.
What's really happened in the U.S. is the same that's happening over there in Italy, with the populist movement, with the Five-Star movement, with Le Pen's movement in France, with the AfD party in Germany. with the Freedom Party in Austria. What it is, it's an anti-elite movement.
Meanwhile, European countries need to start thinking of their own nuclear security plans following Trump's victory. That's according to a senior German lawmaker. And the words come despite Barack Obama trying to reassure the continent of Trump's commitment to both NATO and Europe. RT's Caleb Mopan reports.
The North Atlantic Treaty Organization has long been an almost unquestioned aspect of U.S. foreign policy. The new president-elect, Donald Trump, has indicated that this could soon change.
Either they pay up, including for past deficiencies, or they have to get out. And if it breaks up NATO, it breaks up NATO.
During the campaign season, Donald Trump played down Washington's need to serve as the world's peacekeeper, instead focusing on domestic issues.
So you're really suggesting the United States should decrease its role in NATO?
Not decrease its role, but certainly decrease the kind of spending. We are spending a tremendous amount in NATO, and other people proportionately less. No good. But the kind of money, look, we owe $19 trillion. We can't afford to do all of this anymore.
NATO has set a defense spending target for its member states at 2% GDP. Only 4 NATO members actually pay this amount. Meanwhile, the United States pays 3.5% of its GDP on defense, with the largest military budget on Earth. The message of Trump's campaign has been no more freeloading.
I haven't given lots of thought to NATO, but 2 things. Number one, the 28 countries of NATO, many of them aren't paying their fair share. They do not focus on terror.
While Obama has been reassuring his European allies that Donald Trump is committed to protecting Europe.
He expressed a great interest in maintaining our core strategic relationships. And so one of the messages I will be able to deliver is his commitment to NATO.
They simply don't seem convinced, leaving those across the Atlantic fearing another period of U.S. isolationism.
It's true the election of Donald Trump risks upsetting the balance between the two continents. The transatlantic alliance and NATO alliance is called into question.
I think we have to prepare for the fact that American foreign policy will be less predictable in the future.
This American election marks the beginning of a period of uncertainty. Certain positions taken by Donald Trump during the American campaign must be challenged.
So is the United States going to completely alter the way it cooperates with the NATO alliance? The Donald is often described as completely unpredictable. But then again, so are world events. The first few months of the new administration have the potential to completely reset East-West relations. Many are nervous, but many are also hopeful. Caleb Moppin, RT, New York.